And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to be taking a look at a game in which you play a man trying to climb to the top or to the highest point of a building to try and get higher than everyone else. You may only climb by stepping onto the colors of the bricks that match you, so essentially you're going to have to be rotating, positioning blocks in order to step your player up and get to the top. You'll have a couple of tools at your disposal to either lock down tiles for other players or to let yourself climb a little bit higher. So now that I've given you a brief overview, let's take a look at the very heavy components that come inside this box, the very easy gameplay, and what my thoughts are on it all combined. So the first part of Climbers is actually going to be to set up the pile of bricks that you're climbing on. And you'll see there's two of these large bricks that are gray on all of their sides. These are going to be the core of what you're building. And around them you're going to be placing different sized bricks. So we have this basically 2 tall brick here, or we have the 1 tall square, or the half tall rectangle type thing. And you're going to place all of these around these 2 bricks so that they are no longer visible. So what we need to do is, randomly pick these up and start placing them around these 2 until they are no longer visible. And all of the blocks have to touch. So real quick, I'll set it up and then we'll get right back to it. So here you can see our fabulously constructed building of multiple colors. And each of these blocks I neglected to show before, but each of these blocks has different colors on all of the sides. And you're randomly going to place them at the beginning of the game, and then everybody's going to get a player color. And they're going to get a pawn in their player color, looking something like this. So this is the blue one. And they're going to get what's called a blocking marker, which is just a cylinder, and 2 ladders. And more about this in a little bit, but these ladders are of 2 different sizes. And on a player's turn, they're going to perform several things. The first is that they are going to move one of these blocks in the building. And their options on moving blocks are going to be pretty basic. What they're going to do is they may either pick up one block, keeping the same face up, and they can move it to any other position. So for example, I could take this block here, and I could move it all the way up to the top. So let's say like that, and place it. My other option, instead of moving a block to the top or moving it somewhere else, is that I may rotate that block but leave it in the same spot. So for example, if I didn't want this to be gray, let's say I wanted it to be pink, I could rotate this block and place it right back where it was, and that would be my block move. The next step of a player's turn is to move their pawn if they so choose. And this is where the trick of the game comes in, because you can only move your pawn onto blocks that show either your color or gray face up. Gray is not to be confused with blue. This is gray, and blue is that color right there. So you may only move onto bricks that are your own color, and you may only move up by a half block distance. So a half a block is the size of this block right here. If I were to start off the board and I'm blue, I could move onto this blue block for my move action. In addition, you are allowed to move as many spaces as you legally can on your turn. So for example, in this setup, the blue player could actually move up 1, 2, 3 steps in one turn because they have 3 legal possible moves. But on the next turn, they may or may not have a move action, depending on how the bricks lie on their next turn. During your turn, you may also use 2 different ladders. You have 2 ladders here, and they can be used in a variety of ways. But for the most part, they're just going to let you skip up distances that you couldn't normally climb. So for example, if this were to be a blue brick here, you could use this ladder to climb that distance. And on your next turn, you could simply jump up to there. Or if you had a smaller distance to go, you could, for example, use this ladder, which is only the height of one of the square or cuboidal blocks. Ladders may also be used as bridges, as you can see in this example, allowing you to move over a gap that would be previously inhibiting your player from moving. So for example, the blue player could move over their short ladder to that other block on their turn. The last option you have on your turn is whether or not you want to use your blocking cube, and you only get this once per turn. What this allows you to do is to lock one brick down or one block down in its current form for an entire round of play. So for example, let's say I really didn't want this blue block here to change because I want to move to it next turn. Or let's say I really don't want this pink block to change because the pink player can't quite get there right now and they may want to move that block to use it on their turn. I simply put my disc there, and that is locked down until the next turn. The game keeps going in this form, with each player taking their turn, moving up, placing a block, moving up, and then using any of their tools that they want to use, until all players in a row have not been able to move up on their turn. So, as I said, you may not be able to move up given the positioning of the blocks. Once everybody has chosen to pass on moving up, the game will end, and whoever's the highest on the building will win. Now, you'll note that the building gets taller as the game goes on because you can take blocks and reposition them to be taller so that you can get higher, but eventually there's going to come a time where not everyone can move, and as soon as that happens, the game is over. So that's the Climbers, and it's a pretty simple game, but it's one that offers a unique style of play that you don't often see. In just simply having blocks that you move around and move up with pawns. Now, it's relatively abstract, but the concept is really cool. There's definitely some strategy in planning out your moves, planning out or anticipating what your opponents might do and blocking that. And it's just a generally fun game that plays really quick. So if you're looking for something light, something unique, definitely check out Climbers. It's one of those games that, although maybe a little pricey for the level of depth that it offers, is definitely both a conversation piece and something very unique.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.